Hello and welcome. Today I'll be showing you the only stealth build you ever need. Basically, it's just all in one. It has everything you need. You don't need infamy for this. I do have 100 skill points, but if they're less, I'll show you which skills you need more and which ones you need less. I'll also go through deployables and weapons, crew boosts, everything that you need, perk decks. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to look at is actually the deployables, because what matters most in stealth is not your weapon even, it's the stuff you bring along. So let's take a look. The ammo bag. Now, you don't normally need an ammo bag for stealth. The only time you should bring one is if you're also bringing a saw, and that would be on, say, any bank mission, where there are a bunch of deposit boxes and someone on the crew might want to saw them open. You'll need an ammo bag for that. Next we have the armor bag. Now this is an interesting one. Essentially the idea is that it allows you to wear an armor, and then you can, when you enter the mission, you'll be wearing a suit, and then when you use the armor bag, you'll put on the armor. So if the mission goes wrong, you can put on armor. But in reality, nobody uses it. It's basically the only people who use it are people who are new to the game or have just unlocked it, want to try it out, but you don't actually need an armor bag. Here is the body bag case. Now this is actually a useful stealth deployable. It brings more body bags. Keep in mind, however, that you can only answer 4 pagers in any mission. So unless your mission has a bunch of enemies without pagers, like cops or thugs or gangsters or civilians, you don't need that many body bags. Alright, what else have we got? The doctor bag. You don't need a doctor bag in stealth. The ECM jammer. Now this one is incredibly useful as well. It gets various upgrades which we'll go through in the skill tree, but essentially it blocks cameras, it prevents any calls from pagers. However, it needs to be placed before those pager calls begin. And it can be used to open certain doors, it can open ATMs. Also important to note, I suppose, is that it blocks certain map objectives on some maps, specifically to prevent you from speedrunning those, so you can't always speedrun a map entirely by just having a bunch of ECMs. You don't need a first aid kit for stealth. You don't need a sentry gun. And the suppressed sentry gun, despite being suppressed, is not a stealth weapon. It's loud, so don't bring that. And interestingly though, the trip mines are something that are useful for stealth. The shape charges, no, that's basically C4, it will blow up and alert everyone. But trip mines, when placed in stealth, have a blue laser and they're in sensor mode, which means that they will beep whenever someone walks through them, and they'll also spot the enemies as if you spotted them yourself, which isn't quite useful if you're alone. It's also useful in any mission where there are more than 4 guards with pagers, so that you can keep track of where those guards are. So basically, in summary, the three main deployables for stealth: body bag case, trip mines, and the ECM jammer, with ammo bag occasionally when someone has a saw. So, now we get to do the fun part, which is look at skills. So, let's jump right into it. You don't need any medic skills, because you won't be taking damage. Some extra cable ties are always useful. It will help you spare the civilians, which I like and Bane likes. And being confident allows you to basically shout further, so you can shout down civilians from further away. And here you can keep them intimidated for a longer time. So those are all somewhat useful skills. Doesn't require many skill points. Here in the sharpshooter tree, these are basically just filler skills to use up your remaining points. Bit of accuracy and stability never hurts. Snap to zoom speed. You don't need this, but put your extra points somewhere, like accuracy. Let's go on. Won't be needing any shotgun skills. You won't be needing any armor skills. Alright, so just a quick note from future me. I decided to fix this up and get bag throwing for us. So I believe that's what I had before. So what you can do just is take this accuracy, put it over here, and now you can throw bags 50% further. I think that's probably a solid choice. So other than that, you don't need any of this. Alright, here, this lets you take the saw, which you can do anyway because you're taking it as a primary. However, it's still important to get this skill because it gives you more ammo, like an extra saw blade, and it makes your sawing more efficient. So you do want to get this for your saw. So moving right along. Now here you'll notice I've gotten various sentry skills. Now you're never going to take a sentry. I'm just getting these skills in order to get Jack of all trades aced, which lets you bring a secondary deployable. So for example, you could bring 2 ECMs and a body bag case. Your second deployable will have half the normal count, but in stealth having 2 kinds of deployables is very nice. Alright, now we can take a look at some drill skills. Now, normally in stealth you don't actually need to be drilling super fast, so I just get the minimum drill skills to get me over to more trip mines, which is a total of 14 trip mines, which is quite nice. So you can take 14 trip mines and an ECM jammer if you have Jack of all trades, for example. Or 14 trip mines and a body bag, or 7 trip mines and 2 ECM jammers. Also, yeah, my drill time is improved and the drills are silent. You do need to pick up Hardware Expert Basic. That one silences your drills, 1 skill point. Get it right away. Now, we have basically the stealth tree right here. Just ace it all is the too long didn't listen version, but I'll go through anyway. You can mark enemies while you're not masked up yet. This is good for helping your teammates. You can walk around in casing mode and just spot things. You can also pick up things like keycards with the aced skill. Here, Sixth Sense gives you additional things you can buy in pre-planning if you ace it, and the basic spots enemies if you stand still for a bit. So just stand still and wait, and you'll spot enemies around you. It's very useful. You start with an extra body bag, and you can place 2 body bag cases instead of 1, and you can have a total of 3 in your inventory instead of 2, so that's also useful. And now we get some ECM skills. Yeah, just it lasts longer, can open doors, which I mentioned earlier, and at the top you get 2 ECM jammers, and it lasts longer again, and also that the pagers are delayed. But remember that you need to place it before the pager goes off. And over here, we can disable a camera. So what you do is you stand underneath a camera, you can loop it, and it won't spot anything for 25 seconds. Only 1 camera on the level can be looped at any time, so if someone else on your team has already looped a camera, you have to wait. Also, lockpicking is faster, which is very nice. Alright, let's go on. Over here we can sprint faster. I mean, these are skills that you'd want in Loud as well. You know, sprinting and having more stamina is useful in any type of mission. I also personally like running and reloading, which is why I get parkour aced. Here, this is free 2 concealment. It basically just gives you +2 concealment because you always have some sort of melee weapon along, even if it's a weapon butt. This is just a filler to move up here. Here, these skills you can get at some point when you need them. Basically, you get additional concealment from silencers, and it also makes any silencers that have a concealment penalty of 2 or less, it basically gets rid of that. So that is useful when you're bringing the saw to keep your concealment low. Same reason why we need inner pockets. This just is more accuracy and stability. And this one is nice. So the aced version, dealing more damage to enemies isn't what matters, but they are marked for 100% longer. You'll notice that they're darker red when they're marked like this rather than light red. You can also just aim down the sights to mark them, and your trip mines will also mark them 100% longer. So high value target aced is actually quite useful. And you don't need any pistols. I mean, you don't really need any pistol skills. You don't need any survival skills. You don't need any melee skills. So that's all the skills that I suggest taking. That is all the skill points spent. And you're in a solid position. So now let's take a look at everything else, because we're not quite done yet. Perk decks. So this depends on which DLC you own. The best perk deck for stealth is Burglar. It's not even. It's not even. It's clear. Basically, right, dodge you don't need. Here you can bag corpses 20% faster. Here you can pick locks 20% faster. Here you can answer pagers 10% faster. Now this is a big one, because there's no other way to improve your pager answering skills. All the other things can get faster with like AI boosts, but pagers, this is the only way to answer them faster. And crouched movement speed. So that's a solid set of things for stealth. Now, if you don't have the necessary DLC, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, focus on unlocking loud perk decks. You can get Crew Chief, gives you a bit more stamina for hostages and shout distance. That's solid. A couple other ones for stealth to consider that some people like. People like use Yakuza to get additional movement speed from being at low damage. Essentially, you bring a Molotov, you burn yourself at the beginning, and then you're super low health, so you're super fast. Not my type of thing, as you can see. And also, one more that you could consider is the Hacker. It's the final perk deck. You get a Pocket ECM, which is a mini ECM that you can throw instead of a grenade. And you can even use it while you're doing something else, like picking a lock or answering a pager. So it's a bit of a panic button that you could use if a guard spots you to block cameras. Only for 6 seconds, but that alone might be reason to bring a Hacker for stealth. Alright, what else have we got? So let's take a look at equipment. Armor, yeah, bring your suit. Because anything else will reduce your concealment, and you want a nice and high concealment, and you want a nice and high speed and stamina. Throwables. This, you want a silenced throwable, basically. The Ace of Spades, which you can get by joining the community group, is a solid choice. Note that in stealth, as long as an enemy has not been detected, any weapon will one-shot them. So an Ace of Spades will one-shot an enemy who hasn't seen you yet. Similarly, a weapon butt will do that. You could also take the shuriken, for example, if you wanted to. Weapons. I recommend the weapon butt because it's very fast, quick, and it has a high concealment. Yeah, nothing more to that. What are we still missing? Crew management. Yes, this is actually fairly important. So, you should give your bots some boost to help you in stealth. Now, let me just show you quickly. So, the loadout 1 will be the final one that's replaced. When a human joins your match, they first fill this slot, the second person who joined fills this slot, and the third person fills this slot. So you put your most important ability there. Now, the most important ability is quick, for both stealth and loud as well. Basically, it lets you interact faster. So this means you have, if you're alone, you have 75% faster interaction speed by having a bot standing at the entrance of the level. This is quite nice. It lets you pick locks faster, you can interact with all kinds of objectives faster, prevents you from being seen by guards because you don't have to spend as much time in the open. Other than that, none of the other abilities are that useful. You don't need bots. They can't inspire you in stealth. You don't need ammo pickup, and you don't really need them to shoot through shields. So just put quick in slot 1 for stealth. That's all that matters. And here for the boosts, we have a few more options here. So here's an interesting one. players gain more concealment. That one, in reality, you don't need this. You'll get the minimum concealment anyway without it, but it helps if you're bringing a saw, so you might as well put it there. Other than that, having more stamina is always solid. And you could give yourself some reload and weapon swap speed as well. But the main thing here is you get quick. That's quite important. Alright, and I think at this point, the only thing I need to go through is weapons. So if you want to... You only bring a saw if there's things that you need to saw. That would be deposit boxes on banks. There's some doors, security doors that you can saw. Now, keep in mind the saw needs to be modded to be silent. And even then, it's not silent. People within a few meters will still hear you. So you have to make sure that, you know, the room and, say, anyone behind the wall on the other side of what you're sawing is far enough away that they don't hear it. Most of the bank vaults are set up such that you can saw the deposit boxes without anyone outside hearing. But it's not always the case, so be careful. Boosts, you'll want to add a concealment boost for +1 concealment. Now, here, you'll want to add a silent motor so that your saw is silent, obviously. And finally, now this is interesting, is you can take either a sharp or a durable blade. And the right answer is to pick the sharp blade, because with the build I've shown you, with the skills that we have, with the saw blade skills that we got in the skill tree, and with the sharp blade, you have enough damage to reach the breakpoint where you can one-shot safety deposit boxes, which means you'll need to click once rather than twice to open them. So if you mod it just the way I did, you'll have an easy time in banks sawing open everything. And then to go with your saw, you want something that's as concealable as possible. So that is 34 concealment. It doesn't have to be the Bernetti 9, but that one is one pistol that is able to reach 34 concealment. So you'll want some sort of suppressor that has at most a -2, because your skills can get rid of that. You'll want to add the +3 concealment boost, which the Bernetti has, as well as there are some other weapons you could use instead. This is just an example. It's what I use. And then add anything that doesn't reduce your concealment. So if you're not in a place where you need a saw, then you have lots of freedom to choose whatever stealth weapons you want. You can choose, you know, SMGs, you can choose shotguns. There are all kinds of things you can do. I'll just show you one setup, for example. Now you could pick a pistol that has much better accuracy. You could pick shotguns, and that has the advantage that if you're close to an enemy, you can blast them into cover to answer a pager more safely, for example. But there are a whole bunch of choices here. You just pick whatever you like there. And I believe that actually concludes this video. I hope this was useful. I'll set up my stealth build and put a link in the description. And the only other thing I should announce is that I was considering starting a series where I'd go do walkthroughs for all the stealthable missions, including ones that you might not realize are stealthable, like doing Mall Crasher in stealth and fun stuff like that. So if there's a video that you'd like to see done in stealth, or just a walkthrough for some level, let me know in the comments. I've stealthed them all on Death Sentence alone. It wasn't easy, but I've done them all, so let me know what you'd like to see, and maybe I'll make a video. Thanks for listening. That's all.